Hey everybody, this is Janet from Purl Together. Recently we've done a couple of knit-alongs that require some basic chart reading. So there's been a couple of members in our group that have asked specifically that I do a quick little video about the way in which a knitter should read their chart. This is a Celtic cable hat that we just finished in our basic cabling class that I was offering. We needed to read a chart for this, and the hat is knitted in the round. It's knitted from the bottom up, and so we're knitting in the round. So I thought I would show you the chart that we used for the class. All right, the first thing I like to do is print my chart, and I like to put it in a plastic sleeve protector, and then I color coded it. I just used colored pencil. One of my students did this, and it was a really great suggestion. And so then it's easier to read if it's color coded. And the other thing I like to do is take a piece of, this is like that blue painter's tape where you can stick it and unstick it many times. So what I do as I go along is I just move the tape up and stick it and restick it, whatever row I'm on. So when we're knitting in the round, what I wanted to show you was we read a chart in the same way that we knit. And so in the bottom right hand corner here is row 1 and stitch 1. And so this would be a purl, knit, knit, purl, purl, knit, knit, purl, purl, and then we have our first cable. So in the same way that you knit from right to left across your needles and from bottom to top, that's the way you read your chart when you're going in the round. So this particular chart is 24 stitches and it's a repeat. So we cast on 120 stitches for our hat. So we would repeat this row 1 5 times. So we do that, and then we go to row 2, which is here. And we would just continue on going around and around. We get back to the beginning of the row, we go to row 3, we repeat that 5 times and come back to the right hand side and knit across. You always have the right side of your knitting facing you. Now, the way that this would be different is here. Let's say we have this other chart. This was a chart that I recently used for the border of a shawl. And I was knitting back and forth. I was not knitting in the round. And so when I begin here, let me hold this up closer, you can see you're still starting at the bottom right with row 1, stitch 1, and going across here. So I go all the way across to 38, but I'm not knitting back and forth. So I'm actually going to turn my work now, and when the wrong side is facing me, instead of starting back in this corner here, I'm actually going to go up, and I'm going to come back across this way, because just like when you're knitting, now I'm knitting on the wrong side of my work. So that's why if you look at the chart here, if I look at this purl dot on row number 2, it says on the right side you purl, but on the wrong side, when the wrong side of your knitting is facing you, you would knit. So you begin going across from right to left just like normal, but then when you turn your work, you're going to go back across the opposite way, just in the same way that you physically knit it. Okay? Normally, when you're knitting back and forth, the odd numbered rows are when the right side is facing you, and the even numbered rows are when the wrong side is facing you. So you go back and forth in a pattern that's like this, across and up and over and up and across, so that's the way you would do the chart in that zigzag motion all the way up if you're knitting flat back and forth. Okay, hopefully that makes sense to you. And then in color work, you're going to do, here's an example of color work, you would do the same thing. So here we have a 3-color chart, and we would start in this corner, and I don't know if it's printed pretty lightly. Can you see the little grid marks that each square represents? You can see them over here better. Each square represents a stitch. So in the same way with colors, this whole row would be black, this whole row would be that light gray, black, and so forth. So this would be 1 stitch, so black, and then you'd have 3 gray ones, then you'd have 5 black ones, and so forth across. Now, and you would do the same thing. If you're knitting in the round, you would just start here, go across, and then on your next row, you would go to row 2 and go across. But if you're knitting flat, the same thing would apply, where you would go across here, and then on the wrong side, you'd go up and back across here, if you're knitting flat. If this were a scarf, for example,
rather than a hat that's knitted in the round.
Okay, so I hope that makes sense to you. As always, if you have questions or you need some extra help, leave me a comment in the group. Feel free to join our Facebook group and our Ravelry group. Both places, leave a comment here. I check all three every day. All right, if you found this video helpful, please consider like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time on Needle Tips. Thanks for watching.